Welcome everybody to another episode of Perched Gaming. I am the adorable gamer, Alex Todd, and last time we were here we did a review of the new types of modes that WWE 2K22 has. Well, today we're going to dive into the WWE 2K22 Ringside Report, the first edition gameplay deep dive. This is a blind viewing for me, so let's see what they have to offer us with WWE 2K22 Deep Dive.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Lionel Jinx. I am the creative director of the WWE 2K franchise. And this time I'm not alone, y'all. I've got my homie with me. She is going to be with me along this journey, this ride. Christina, please introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, I am Christina Fam, art producer on WWE 2K22, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Ringside Report, brought to y'all by the teams at 2K and Visual Concepts.
We're here to provide regular updates and deep dives into the many areas and features of WWE 2K22.
And this year we're introducing the WWE 2K22 Ringside Reports, and you'll hear from Lionel and myself beginning now, through the game's launch in March, and after for the latest on DLC, patches, and other updates. And we're not gonna be taking this ride alone because we're bringing the homies from the dev team with us. So
Come on.
So what I like about this already is that compared to former years past, where sometimes we don't know the DLC until after the game comes out, it looks like they're already trying to get ahead on that, and they're trying to announce some DLC before the game comes out, which is definitely going to get people to buy on release day. So
Bring them on.
But before we dive into that, let's kick it off with a very quick conversation about visuals, because let's be real, if y'all take a look at WWE 2K22, you might see some massive differences from previous cycles.
Oh, absolutely. Look at Edge.
This is the best looking game yet. Just a
It's
little
pretty.
bit.
Oh, look at Edge. That's
I know,
awesome.
Let's talk about how the teams approach production differently this time around, starting with the superstars.
So the superstars, in any WWE game are the backbone of the game, right? And so we have
Look at
to make
Humberto.
sure that we are doing our absolute best on representing every superstar to the best of our abilities.
The
And
graphics
in
are
order for us
incredible.
to do that, we piggybacked on the same technology that you guys saw in NBA 2K 22, where you look at their players and the details and just the likenesses look amazing. And so we shared that same technology and brought that into WWE 2K22, like the cross polarization scans. And
Oh, that's so
compare.
cool.
Just to me, though, the amazing amount of detail that you'll see in our superstars is unparalleled for us.
Yeah, and also the teams have overhauled the lighting engine, and there's an all-new VFX engine as well.
Yeah.
Which I gotta say, just from looking around, the lighting in the game looks incredible. It's never really looked bad, but you could always tell there was something like, I don't want to say generic about it, but it didn't mirror real life. So already looking at the lighting is a million times better.
So, lighting is everything, right? So like all these details and everything that we poured into our superstars wouldn't mean anything if they weren't lit properly, right? And so if you take a look at this version of the game compared to any other year, like it looks like a broadcast. It looks photorealistic at times, and a lot of that is due to lighting.
Look at how real that looks. Also, is that Unmasked Kane? Does that mean Unmasked Kane's going to be in the game? Please.
I forget, there's also a ton of new and improved championships as well, and one of my personal favorites, mainly because it's the team I work with most closely, is the environments team. There are over 55 playable arenas, and we also have virtual crowd boards in the game as well. So
They put the Thunderdome in 2K. I love it. I love it so much.
Okay, so I don't want to linger any longer because folks have been asking for gameplay for a very, very long time. Without further ado, the moment y'all been waiting for, we are going to show you a 1v1 match between Rey Mysterio and Damian Priest. So let's roll the footage.
So at this point, one of the things we very intentionally called out to our fan base is that we have a redesigned gameplay experience.
I love this.
Starting with Jason, Can you talk about what that means to you and how gameplay hits different?
In WWE 2K22, we have a completely new animation system. This system has allowed us to greatly improve the look and the feel of the characters. Basically, everything from the way the characters move and they traverse through the world, how they align with each other during attacks has been completely overhauled and redone. Players are going to notice a significant difference the moment they pick up the controller. The characters are way more responsive than they've ever been. You no longer feel like you're fighting to control your character to get them into position to do what you want them to do. Strikes, dives, springboards, they all connect more precisely. And that's also something that we really struggled with and took to heart and tried to resolve this year.
That being said, they had to change how the players' characters reacted to other characters. Because in old games, if like Damian Priest, for example, was laying on the ground and Ray came up to him, if you weren't in like the exact spot, it would like do this weird like awkward. You'd be awkwardly standing there, and then you'd move over, and then you'd move to the side, and then it would have him grab him. But like you wouldn't be touching the controller, so that's huge. Also, looking at the graphics of the actual players, they look very much so more 3D now, whereas like they didn't look awful before, but you could still tell it was a video game. You could still there was like that glossy look over the characters, like they were that 3D model, that you would see in a normal video game. But these guys actually look like realistic, like real human, like 3D.
Another key change that we've made to the game engine this year is our physics system. While the series has always had Havoc to some degree, it's primarily used for only air and clock simulation. For 2K22, we've completely integrated Havoc into gameplay, which has allowed us to introduce things like breakable props. The kendo stick starts to fray the more you use it. Tables, they break more dynamically. The chair even breaks. And even elements within the environment itself are now dynamically breaking, such as like the corner barricade, instead of relying on a canned sequence animation.
Oh, that's
cool.
A
really big change and has helped make the entire gameplay experience feel more dynamic.
Awesome. Derek, same question.
So for me, when we sat down to figure out how we were going to change gameplay for 2K22, one of the biggest things that we put as a priority was making sure the game is fun in a pick up and play kind of way. I want to be able to hand the controller to my friend who doesn't know anything about WWE, and I want them to still be able to have a good time and be able to just kind of hop in with me.
Which you were never able to do before. You had to like explain in great detail how the game worked because it was just so in depth that it was difficult.
So we made sure that with our controls redesign, all of the core actions are something you can discover just by button mashing. You should be able to basically play through a match without having known anything beforehand. But another big priority for us with that is making sure we're not, smoothing over a lot of the details that returning fans like. So all of the high level of control that you expect to have with your character, all of the high degree of customization you expect, all of that still remains.
Okay, so you've mentioned new controls and mechanics. Combat itself is centered around 3 inputs: light attacks, heavy attacks, and grapples. So in this cycle specifically, what do those terms mean?
So light attacks, those are your quick strikes, the fastest attacks in the game. Heavy attacks, those are kind of like strong strikes from previous years. They're bigger, slower strikes, but they deal more damage. And then finally, grapples, those are where some of the bigger changes come into play. So you press the grapple button once to lock up with your opponent, but then from there you can press light, you can press heavy. Those will do your light and heavy grapples, but there's all sorts of other options.
That's something that I liked about the UFC games too, because you could always grapple somebody and then kind of go from there with whatever you wanted to do. But the WWE games in recent memory never really had that. Some of the older ones did, but I feel like the 2K series really didn't. It was like A for grapple, B for strike. That was about it. So that's cool. Also, while we're on this page, let's take a look right here at the different controls that we can kind of see already. So we've, like they were saying in the video, we have to grapple, you press B now, which is a little different. And then you can, from there, either do a heavy attack, which is A, or X, which is a light attack. Now, my question is, unless you're pressing another button on the other side of the controller, where is Irish Whip? Because there isn't one, and it was in that area, so that'll be interesting to see if they talk about.
Irish whips, drag, carry, all of those things come from the grapple state. So
okay,
once you
that answers that.
You have a lot of possibilities open up to you.
Okay, and I want to toss this over to Jonathan too. So opening up these possibilities, can you talk about some of the combo options that players can dive into?
Yeah, sure. I love how simple and engaging our new dynamic combo system feels. I don't need to memorize every superstar's moveset, but instead I practice the timing of my inputs in order to execute combos. Light attacks allow me to branch into a combo, and when I learn that light, heavy grab executes that move, I can take that and apply it to anybody I play with. I love the exploration that our game provides to encourage the user to play with many different superstars and then choose whichever one is better suited for them. And if you don't like the combos that we assign, we also support customizing combos. I'm
Ooh, I like
personally
that.
really excited to see what
I really like being able to customize combos. That's pretty cool.
Okay, very quickly, I want to take it back to one point that Derek touched on earlier, which was about the accessibility of this game and being able to just pick it up and play. And I want to call this out mainly because I myself am a much newer player to WWE 2K. So for me, picking up and playing has been the whole experience. The controls are super easy to learn. And while my own habits fall back on button mashing the controller, even though we have that, I enjoy having to be very strategic and intentional about how I'm approaching this game, especially when it comes to the timing of things like reversals or finishers. So I can definitely attest to, hey, if you're feeling intimidated by this, please don't. Pick it up, try it out. You'll have such a blast. But also, if you're a vet and you've been playing this for a long, long time, can y'all talk about how vets can better show off their moves and what that means for the overall strategy of their
That means we coming for you.
So a lot of the strategy
coming for you.
comes with the new defensive options that we've added this year. So one of the biggest examples is breakers. Instead of reversals being the only tool for countering your opponent's attacks, grapples and combos actually don't use reversals. Instead, you counter them with a breaker. So when you're doing a grapple or a combo on your opponent, they can counter that attack by pressing the same light, heavy, or grapple in.
That's so cool.
So those moves are countered with breakers. Everything else is countered with a reversal. So knowing what kind of attack you expect your opponent to perform can already prime you to know how you want to counter it. So there's already a mind game at that level.
So that's really cool for people, like they said, that are veterans, that are more experienced at this game. Lee and I played this game religiously. You know, we have played it so long that, and I know there's others like you out there where you go into expert mode and you expect it to be difficult there. And it just got to the point where if you were good enough at the game, no offense to those who couldn't handle the higher difficulty, but if you were good enough at the game became boring after a while, because even on the hardest difficulty, you were winning easily. The game wasn't really that hard anymore. You would lose a match maybe occasionally, but this I think is a game changer because you put that on expert mode. Granted, they might have changed it this year. Maybe expert mode's harder, but you put that on expert mode, there's more ways for superstars to reverse, which makes everything a little harder and a little more challenging for the vets that need a little more of a challenge.
Then you have blocking, which is all new. If you hold down the reversal button, you enter a blocking stance, and that lets you withstand light, heavy, and running attacks. And then you can counterattack faster than your opponent can after blocking. You can also dodge with the right bumper, so you can kind of choose a direction and get out of the way really quickly if you time your dodge correctly, but it's higher risk than a block. And then when you're on the ground, you also can button mash to get up faster, or you can press right bumper to do a quick get up at the cost of some resource. So when you have all of those defensive options available to you, it makes when you're on defense, it's a lot more strategic, but also when you're on offense, you have to be careful with how you want to attack your opponent so that they don't counter you.
So our community has been speculating about the HUD and like guessing like what, you know, these little glowing meters mean and all this stuff. Jonathan, I'm going to let you be the first to break this down and break the news. And let's dive into the HUD and give the community some clarity here.
So our goal was to create a HUD that strips down all unnecessary aspects and simply gives the user the information that they need without distracting the user from the in-game action. So at the very top, you'll have the vitality meter, and this is basically your health bar. Below that, you'll find the special meter. It's a resource you want to spend to perform signatures, paybacks, or defense attacks. Finally, at the bottom is your finisher meter, where you can store up to 3 stocks.
Right there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, obviously the biggest change that we made was removing the reversal stock from the HUD. We felt that 2K20's matches came down to how the users manage their reversal stock. We wanted to bring a bit more skill to a match by giving the users unlimited reversals.
Oh, yes. We have unlimited reversals back. That is huge because there were so many times that no matter how good you are, if you're out of reversals, if you're out of a payback, you don't have the resiliency. Like, sometimes it wasn't possible to win. Those were those few losses that I was explaining before. So that was a little rough. So I'm glad that we finally went back to unlimited reversals because the game shouldn't rely on whether or not you ran out of reversals or not.
In our internal matches with 2K22, we get wild swings and back and forth and a bunch of oh so close moments that we really feel make the match memorable. And in addition to that, we added a new stun meter that shows up on the characters when it's close to being filled. So we're really excited to show off our new HUD and for our users to play with all of the new additions and our streamlined approach.
Cool. Like one of the things that, at the end of the match where I'm like, in previous years or, iterations, once you basically knew once your opponent didn't have any reversal stock, all you had to do was hit your Sega finish, your match was over.
Exactly.
That's not the case anymore, right? Like someone can just pull out like a reversal and this back and forth. And so Derek, can you talk about the how strategy is incorporated into that part of this new mechanic?
Yeah, so with reversals no longer being on limit, that opens up a lot of possibilities for how your opponent can counter you, right? Like they could always pull a reversal out, or if you're using combos, grapples, they could hit you with a breaker. But the stun meter that Jonathan mentioned earlier, that's one of your biggest tools for making sure that you can pull off your biggest move without getting countered. So lighter attacks, while they don't do as much damage to the vitality of the opponent, they're better at filling your opponent's stun. If you can get their stun meter filled, that's your opportunity to perform an attack without the risk of getting a reversal or a breaker.
Okay, so that's cool because at the same time, now there are ways to make to where your opponent can't reverse, which I loved about the older games. So that's cool.
Button mashing is back, y'all. Like I love it. It creates a whole new level of like intensity in those tight matches. And yeah, like I gotta practice my finger strength on that just so I can beat everyone down when this game goes online.
All right, y'all.
Booyaka, booyaka!
Unfortunately, we're out of time. So to close out, now that we're nearing the end of production, what are y'all looking forward to most for the game, whether for your own experience or with players specifically? Let's start with Jason, then Derek, then Jonathan.
So I gotta say, my favorite thing about this game is still the fact that we're getting GM mode back. It's so nice to see some of the older things coming back to this game. But something I took away from this video is that compared to other games, they are bringing back little things that made the game important, like being able to grab somebody and being able to do either a heavy attack or a light attack. That's something that's really cool. I like that they brought back the unlimited reversals. That was always huge because that was just, I think, an unfair advantage at certain points. And just the graphics overall look great. I hope you guys enjoyed the watch along today. When this game comes out, we will probably be doing a live stream on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So please stay tuned and come back for more with Perch Gaming with the Adorable Gamer. See you later.